Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today I'm aboard the Novorossiysk, which is the third rank 6 battle rating 7.0 Soviet capital ship, and there is quite a lot of unpacking to do here when we discuss the ship. This is more like a first impressions, like I usually do these days, but I think that this ship has a lot of things going around it. Just like the radar, two different radars, but it doesn't really make any sort of difference. It's not a wonder weapon, whatever. And first of all, I have to apologize for the lack of video content lately, but IRL kicked in, then there was Christmas, and so on. But at the end of the year, I try to, get some more videos out there for you guys. So, the Novorossiysk, what's about it? It looks a little bit Italian. Yeah, that's correct, because we have the sister ship of this former Giulio Cesare in the Italian tech tree, where it's called the Conte di Cavour. So this is actually a Conte di Cavour class in its 1953 configuration. The story is as follows. After World War II, the ship, formerly known as the Giulio Cesare, was given to the Soviets as a war prize or reparation, whatever, and they took it into their navy, apparently in the Black Sea, where it served for a while, and then magazine detonation happened and the ship sank, and that was due to an old World War II German mine, apparently, or supposedly. And yeah, that's the story as the ship goes. In War Thunder, when it comes to my assessment as a Kronshtadt 2.0, it's not meant in a positive way. It's meant in a verschlimmbessert way. Verschlimmbessern is the German word for basically making it worse as before with the intention of making it better. So, yeah, this ship is a story for itself. At 7.0, it apparently doesn't have the armor, but it somehow works. It's tanky enough. Presumably, you angle it. Or if you angle it, then it can work. Let's put it that way. Yet I was here and there, then magazine detonated. So it's not foolproof like a Scharnhorst that is broadside. Yeah, and the whole story is about the 10 320mm-44 Ansaldo Model 1934 guns. You have two twin turrets, both super firing, and two triple turrets, which are the lower turrets, turret number 1 and turret number 4, if you will. And surprisingly, the barbettes for the super firing turrets are as wide as basically for the triple turrets, and therefore the firing angles are worse, actually, so keep that in mind. I think before we come into the discussion of the shells, which are what make and break the ship, if you will, which on paper look great and fantastic, let's talk about the armor. So it's a distributed armor scheme. You have basically on the main belt underwater a 250 to 230 millimeter belt. Then the belt at the waterline is 220 millimeters. That is not really all that great. And the upper belt is 130 millimeters. The icebreaker goes from 30 to 110 to 120 and 30 millimeters. And we have similar values at the rear of the ship. Then we come to the bulkheads, which are not that thick, with 110 millimeters, and they are bent outward, especially for the rear turret, so rear angling is dangerous business. Then we have also various different decks. We have an upper deck that is 42 and 43 millimeters thick. Then we have an inner deck of 80 millimeters over the machinery and 100 millimeters over the magazines. And then there is a 30 millimeter plating out on the outside of where the magazine is. And then we have in the middle of the ship again another belt that I can not belt deck that I can't properly see, but is somewhere between 25mm and 50mm, and it goes towards a 45mm thick turtleback that is angled at 53 degrees and goes up to 60 degrees. So that's quite nice. And that all together makes it really work when you angle the ship so that you can absorb an astounding amount of fire. At least in my experience, that was the case over a lot of battles. Then let's talk about the AA. There is a wild mixture of 100mm guns, 4 twin turrets of the Minizzini naval guns. Then we have 6 twin and 6 single 37mm mounts, and they make the effective AA. Then you can see that you have this double radar, but that actually makes no real usefulness to be the case, I guess. Then there is the speed of 52 kilometers per hour. The ship fields no torpedoes, no missiles, rockets, whatever, and that's about it. So there is some additional armor on the barbettes to go with that, where you have 50 over 240 millimeters, and then we have for the turret faces 280 millimeters with a bit of angling. So the ship can eat some damage, but don't rely on it. Then we come to the ammunition. And the ammunition is a little bit of a tragedy and a bit of a variation of the Kronshtadt. So this is where I have to compare 3 ships. The Patritskaya Komuna as a representative of the other ships such as the Poltava, Imperatrica Maria and Marat, where we have the mighty SEP round with 55 kilograms of TNT. Then we have also the HE round with 48 kilograms of HE, and the AP with 13 kilograms of HE. Then we have the Kronshtadt, and the Kronshtadt has 2 shell types, the HE with 55.4 kilograms, which is absurd. Then we have the AP, which has nearly 19 kilograms of TNT, keep that in mind. And then we have the Novorossiysk, and the Novorossiysk fields 2 shell types. The first one is the 320mm Granata Perforante, the SAP round, which is your stock round, and it yields 23.4 kilograms. That is less than half for what you get on the Russian 12-inch guns for their SAP and HE. But it deals with cruisers relatively nicely, since it has a fuse delay of 0.03 seconds with a fuse sensitivity of 17 millimeters and an initial penetration value of 427 millimeters at 5,000 meters, 327 millimeters, and at 10 kilometers, 241 millimeters. So versus weakly protected ships, destroyers, light cruisers, and a lot of the heavy cruisers, this shell is good enough. Then we have the 320mm APHE BC Pala, and that is the shell that makes it really so much worse compared to the Kronstadt's AP, as you can see here. And that has 678 millimeters of penetration, which is 1 millimeter more than the Kronshtadt, which is outright fantastic. And at 10 kilometers, it still has 403 millimeters. So for a heavier and bigger shell, we have a little bit less of energy retention compared to the Kronstadt's 415. But it's really the TNT value, which is only a third. But also the fuse delay of 0.05 seconds for the Kronshtadt makes the Kronshtadt absolutely lethal for what it is, compared to the Novorossiysk's AP, which is so frustrating. It's so frustrating, this shell, because it not just deals not a lot of damage, it deals it in the wrong places. This ship cannot really deal with ships that are angled in terms of having heavy armor and being angled. To oversimplify it and to exaggerate here a little bit, the AP from the Novorossiysk feels a little bit like APCR. It is wonderful on paper. It has a lot of penetration on paper. especially versus targets that are flat. But versus angled armor, it effectively loses a lot of the damage potential. Here, this is this is the Kronshtadt that I'm currently playing. Yeah, it's bad. It's absolutely bad. This is Kronshtadt power, right? Shooting at stuff and killing it. And so my verdict on this ship is it's just not worth it. It's not a bad ship. It's not awful. It's not dreadful. But the AP rounds, they are not good enough. And your secondaries just cannot really help you there to overcome this. Not at 7-0. Not when you're fighting over and over again at distance really, really tough nuts, such as the US standards, you know, the Arizona, which is weird because the Arizona, in terms of an anti-battleship isn't all that bad. And even when you're fighting cruisers, you know, there is Kronshtadt, there is Alaska, there is the Scharnhorst. They just mop up the floor with cruisers and also deal a lot of pain to battleships. And this ship just has neither of the qualities that make a really good battleship. It would be great at 6.7 maybe. It would be too strong at 6.3, but it's not 7.0 material. And that's it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, give it a subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.